This is Powerslave Exhumed. We're here on Xbox Series X taking a look at this classic and really awesome experience. So if you have not heard of Powerslave, this is a really cool game. So it's neat in the fact that, you know, it's kind of, the typical old school sort of shooter exploration game, maybe a little bit like Doom, you might say, right? But what's neat about this one is it's a game where you actually have to revisit sections in order to open up new areas and do new things. It is a very cool game, and one that I do heavily suggest. So what they've done here is they've brought back the experience, and they've done what is called what they're calling a meld of the PlayStation and the Saturn versions of this experience. It's got great music, it's got great gameplay, great audio, it looks fantastic, and what we're getting here on the Series X is a 4K resolution at 60 FPS, and it looks absolutely splendid and sharp. There are other options too when you go into the game options, so we got things like having checkpoints on, the overworld screen, you can do bob speed, HUD settings, there's input settings, binding options, controller sensitivity choices. When you go to the display, we get things such as having anti-aliasing on, resolution, you can do a CRT filter. If you want to be all weird like that, you can do that. So you can have the weird scan lines on. You do you. Anastrophe, we've got an FOV choice. Wow, right? Going up to 120 here, you can see the whole thing. That's actually a little too much for me. But we're gonna bring that back down. I think it was 67 or something like that. 68. I feel like 70 is usually the good spot. But then there's advanced display options too if you want to get even more intense, like CRT emulation settings. This is really in depth. And again, this is a Night Dive title. We recently checked out their efforts in regards to literally, we've done Turok in the past, but they also brought back Shadow Man Remastered not too long ago. We did a video on that as well. And they do a phenomenal job remastering and bringing back these old titles. Now, this is one that I genuinely thought we would not see brought back. I've played this on PC because I was really curious about it a number of years back. And when I saw that they were doing this, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is such a cool game. It really is. The vibe of it, the enemies, the combat, it's really quite exciting and very distinct. I mean, just look at these environments. They look absolutely fantastic. And sorry for the pause there. Might be a little bit weird, but yeah, anyways. This is a really great experience. I heavily suggest checking this out because it is such a cool game. This is Ramses. He's given us the whole lowdown about what we got to do and everything like that. And then, yeah, like I was saying, you kind of go between these different areas. And you have to so we were at the tomb, and then we go here to Karnak, and then you go to the right, and then you go back, and you can go to different areas, and you get these new items and these new things. So you can end up being able to jump higher in order to reach different spots. Or you might be able to, swim. There's all these kinds of new things you're getting access to as you're exploring. And you have to keep collecting these sort of bubbles for health or your weapon power. And I think that's really quite cool. And then you get to fight all these crazy creatures. There's a bunch of different weapons. You can have there's the M60 you get not too long into the game. Really cool stuff. And it's just got this great Egyptian vibe to it. I'm also a huge fan of Egypt and everything like that, the history of that, region and everything. It's really quite cool. And then we get this game here, and it's just got this really cool vibe to it. Again, excellent music, a neat design setup. Just trying to show off the map there too. I mean, obviously I don't need it at this part because this is so easy going on things, but it's just got a really cool vibe to it. I love the visuals of it. I love the design of this game. It's just such a neat experience. Seriously, this is a really cool classic shooter, and I'm hoping that more people discover what this game has to offer with this upgrade, because seriously, this is a very cool game. It's really neat, and some of the concepts I think were well above it, ahead of its time. And it's just got like this great style to it, and they've done a fantastic job on this upgrade. Really, really cool. I do actually kind of wish they maybe would have done more with like the skybox, but that is the original, you know, like they're trying to have that classic kind of version to it. They're trying to provide that original experience, and I think that in itself is also really important to kind of allow us to have this classic game as it was. I think that's kind of nice too, right? And I think they've just done a wonderfully neat job here. So you need the symbol of power. So later on you can come back and then you can do all this stuff. And I think that's really quite cool because it's like a very different sort of experience as you're able to progress through different portions of the level as you get new things, right? So you can actually, I don't know if you can actually see from here, but there's like an area down there that we could get to like later and stuff. So that's kind of neat. So something about dynamic lighting being adjusted. 20 levels, non-stop gameplay action. Seriously, just absolutely worth your time. It is such a cool game. It is such a different game. That's what I'm trying to get across. And you can have so much fun sitting here fighting all these different things and doing these crazy challenges and combat and stuff. It looks really neat. It's quite cool. We're being a little bit more aggressive than I necessarily should be with these guys. Just shoot them. But you know, it's kind of the fun of it. The effects look really good. It's got like that clean UI that you would expect for this classic title. It's just like a really neat game, and you can make it, you know, like with so many different like fine-tuning options. You can make it a little bit more difficult if you want. You can make it a little bit more easygoing. I think that's really, really cool, and it's just such a neat experience. You know, I am kind of really like into this game. I hope I'm getting that across. It's a really, really cool title. So like we can't get up here, but when we finish like the next level, we'll be able to have the ability to jump higher, so we can reach new places that we couldn't get to in this area, and that in turn unlocks other spots. So I could have just went this way the whole time, but I was like, oh, we'll do, you know, like that's the exit there. But I was like, oh, you know, we'll kind of take a look at things, do a tour, so then you could go down there, and there's like a whole area that way, and yeah, it's kind of neat. Like, it's different level design. And then again, I don't feel that we were necessarily getting a whole lot of at that time, which I think is so cool. But I love doing the little fights here, and like I said, it's going to get like a lot more kind of complicated as we continue to go to new areas, we get new weapons, stuff like that. So now we're in the sanctuary. So different area, different setup, same sort of cool style. Love blowing up the skulls. They explode in very satisfying ways. We'll come back to that. We need to go, I think we should be getting, yes, the M60 here. Kapow! So this makes things a little bit more easier to do with the combat, right? Like, you're gonna just be blasting things with the M60. Certainly no pistol. But it's just like how you work through the rooms and stuff, and the environment is something that I find really neat. You know, like, it's a different kind of game. And I love going back and playing these titles. I really wish, like, there's so many games out there that are kind of like just lost and stuff, and it's great that we have like, again, a company like Night Dive that's actually doing restorations and bringing back these old school experiences that some might think are like just kind of lost. I think that's really important. It opens up games for a new generation. Like, I discovered this, you know, again, a couple years back, and I thought this was like a really cool game, and then, you know, now people can jump in and play it more easily on console and stuff, and I think that is just absolutely awesome that this is present. And then you can like backtrack. The maps actually get quite complex to a degree, depending on what you're doing, like later on. Like, there's a lot going on here. I just did this not too long ago. But yeah, and then you got this like vibing music, the symbol of time. How did I get that last time? Oh yeah. Okay, we don't have that thing yet. I think... Oh, here we go. What was I thinking? I didn't go down here. Anyways. Yeah, you can figure out things pretty easily too. I think you won't have too many problems discovering what you're supposed to be doing for areas, and a checkpoint, and some enemies. And we'll... Should we just... I think we'll just do this now. Oh no, that was bad. I botched that, but good thing we had the checkpoint right here. So we're supposed to shoot this guy. And I think, yeah, okay. And you can see there's like a whole area out there. And then you won't necessarily get to there right away. You can do that like another time. Different like spot and everything like that. So you're basically kind of just fighting through these areas, using these certain items in order to open up other areas that you weren't able to get to prior. And, oh, that was another bad jump. I did it perfectly when I was running through it earlier. Yeah, you're opening these other areas, and then when you go and you go back to other spots, you will gain... Oh, jeez. You will gain new abilities that will allow you to tackle scenarios that previously were a lot of a problem, like a big problem for you. You couldn't do them. And I think that in itself is just so interesting. Like, I really do think this is just like the coolest type of game. And then you mix that like super smooth, super fast-paced action of like something like, you know, like a Doom type shooter, stuff like that, and then you mix it in with modern visuals and upgrades and, you know, enhancements, and you open it up for new people to enjoy. I think that's really quite special. I mean, I love that. I think this game is really cool. I can't remember if I'm supposed to go back the other way to finish this off, or if I'm supposed to just like... I know there's like a camel I have to go. Well, you always gotta find the camel, but... oh, geez, yeah, we do have to go this way now that we have the option to actually jump high. I believe that opens up a new... yeah. It's crazy creatures. And then on top of that, if you're into like Egypt stuff like I am, it's like double cool, if that makes sense. Like just the whole Egyptian theme to me is really quite fun. And then we can go down and we can do those side areas, but we're just gonna... Wow, actually, I can't believe that killed me there. I'm so shocked. I literally, again, like I was running through this again so that I knew what I was doing today, and then I'm just like, I don't know, I'm almost choking. I had like such a perfect run I was doing. There we go. Just dying more. I was keeping my health perfect too, but I guess I'm also being a little bit more reckless because I'm just like running around shooting things. But yeah, that kind of plays into it. But it's just this like really neat sense of, hey, let's go and discover things. Like you can go around and you can figure out stuff. Oh no. Oh no. Or you can like, you know, be a little bit more smart about it. And that's the fun thing of it, is just being like, hey, let's be tactical, let's be strategic, or hey, let's run and gun. So play it how you want. A map. Weapon power. See, now we got the whole layout. It's pretty cool, right? So it's got those secret areas that you might expect from this type of shooter from that era. But then it also has that aspect of like, hey, we need to go back here in order to do something a little bit different next time. And that, to me, is quite fun. And it just like, it's like this different gameplay element that I feel is so distinct and not necessarily something I remember a whole lot of from this era. So the shooting feels great, the game looks fantastic. I mean, I think this looks great, you know, even though it's something that is obviously like old school visuals, I still think it holds up pretty well, and I think they've touched it up nicely. Wow, I'm actually surprised that guy got me there. See, we need to get health. That's what we need to get. Jeez. I'm having so many problems with this. Probably because I'm also distracted talking and whatnot. But seriously, you can have a great amount of fun with this. I think you can, you know, discover a lot of secrets. You can find hidden things. And it's a great time. And there's so many cool, like, little enemies and stuff you gotta deal with. And there might be some other surprises here or there. Believe it or not, a lot of people are not friendly here. And they want to cause problems for you. And then you got like that narrator bit, like even the opening of this game is definitely worth sitting there and kind of watching. It's like this, you know, introduction thing where it's like it tells you the long backstory lore of, you know, the Powerslave thing and everything like that. So I think that's really cool too. You know, if you might find that intriguing, I'd sit there in that opening, kind of when the game loads up and being like, oh, cool, cool. And then, you know, obviously, oh jeez. You know, we've got those like bits from Ramses there in the tomb and that gives you more context into what's going on. Now we're stacking up on some health, except I'm letting these guys just like slap me down. I don't know, it feels like really action-packed, it feels really good to play. I think that's the biggest thing, is like, you know, for a lot of these shooters, the years may have gone by, we have way more technically advanced things, but at the same time, some of these classics just still feel ever so good to witness. Like, this is great, you know. It really, really is. It's so cool. I hope I'm I really, really hope I'm getting that across. It's just that this is such a cool experience. Something very, very different gameplay-wise. You know, I'd love to see, if possible, and probably so hard, to get more similar old-school games like this, because I feel like we miss out on things. See, that's the sandals of whatever there, and then I can jump higher, so that's a big thing. Now they're dead. Good. Big problem there. So now I can, like, you know, really get up to different places, and then I'm allowed to visit new spots, and that's a little thing. This guy does his whole spiel, blah, blah, blah. You're supposed to get more sandals, and you know how it is. So then we travel back here, and then we can go do a different thing, and that is so cool. And then I think we're going to be able to go up. So we go back, and you redo segments, but now, you know, you can, like, jump higher, and you can get new stuff, like I was, like, mentioning way earlier. So I think there was a lot of love and care that went into bringing this game back. I highly appreciate that. I think this is a game that's definitely worth preserving. And I think it's fantastic that there was, you know, a company that kind of looked at this and they're like, this is a game that we want to make available to people. A game that I think new players or even old players, you know, wanting to get that nostalgia can enjoy. But, like, you know, classic players can sit here and be like, oh wow, this is so cool. And new players be like, oh, this is so interesting, this is so neat. So that to me is really quite cool, because I do think, you know, all games are worth actually preserving. That's a big thing for me, is the preservation of, you know, gaming and the industry and everything like that. That matters a lot, to me personally. And, you know, it's just, like, really, really cool to be here, blast things away, enjoying this game that I enjoyed not too long ago, but also being like, hey, now I can easily suggest this to you as being something that you can jump in here and be like, oh, this is really cool. And that is what I'm trying to showcase, is just that progression. I know at the beginning, I have a save with a lot more going on, but I was like, it's more cool for me to be like, hey, you can get these abilities, assuming you've watched all of this, you can get those abilities, and then you can go back to where you were, and I can show you and be like, oh, well, we can't get up here. But now that we have these sandals, ayo, yeah, we can jump up here easily, right? So it opens up a new area that we weren't able to get to. And while that might seem like, ha ha ha, a very basic thing nowadays, wow, that guy is just, like, absolutely cutting me up. A basic thing nowadays, in the past, you know, that was kind of a very different sort of concept. I think we actually would drown when we go in here. No, we're kind of okay. Yeah. It's not the best to be in the water, but you actually do get something a little bit better for swimming later on. Yeah. Can I not jump out of this thing? There. Oh, geez, that was a high jump. It's like that sky goes on for miles. Ah, damn it. I didn't have any. See, that's the problem. You don't get the guns. Okay, do we still have M60? No, we're all the way at the beginning. Yeah, because we didn't get any checkpoints. So let's just rush through this, because we already done all this stuff. And then that camel will open up a new area that we can visit, which is a cool thing. You know, we'll just shoot this stuff. See, I could work through these levels a lot faster if I really wanted to. And then you'd be like, yeah, let's travel to a new sector. But anyways, let's see, Sobek Pass. I hope you enjoyed this look at Powerslave. It's a cool game. It's one I do heavily suggest. You know, if you care about, like, old school games, you'll find this really, really cool. If you want something that's very, very different gameplay wise and unique and interesting, I heavily suggest taking a dive through what this has to offer, because I think you will have so much fun with it and you'll find it so intriguing. And if you want to customize things too, that's present as well. But yeah, it's just like a really neat sort of game, and I do hope you jump into it and play it.